Alright everyone, it's that time again. Yes, it's time for Patch Review 3.6. Orion is on our doorstep. It will be landing, as it looks like right now, on the 29th of this month. That will be in 4 days as of the release of this video. So yeah, get yourselves ready because the game is yet again about to change completely. Yes, that's right. Alright, let's take a look at what we have. The hunt is on the Orion patch notes. There's quite a lot of stuff to go through today because Orion is definitely not a small patch. This is very much a custodian patch as well. This means that there's going to be a slew of new content being added to the game in a variety of places, and it's all going to be for free. So that is the most important part here. First of all, combat rebalancing. We've talked about it at length for months and months on end. What can we expect? Ship roles can now be selected from the auto design menu. Let's take a look at our ships that we have right here as we just disable this, and we look at ship roles. So we can have these nice little ship roles that we can assign to our ships, and essentially it will automatically populate the ship with the right type of assets to basically fit our ship properly. So in this particular case, let's say that we want to have a artillery ship on our Corvette. It will automatically be loaded out with missiles. This will make your life a lot easier for those of you who do not want to automatically do all the stuff themselves when it comes to setting up their ship design. So a lot of quality of life stuff being added here. I like it a lot, so we'll see how this is going to pan out. Of course, this applies to every single ship design within the game. If you want to add a ship role, then you can have it. Hell, they even have it for the Titan. Oh, this is a battleship. Let's take a look here at the Titan. Gunship Titan, because why not, right? Yeah, let's have a Titan with just railguns. Or even, wow, okay, one for the defense platform. Ion cannons don't have them. Juggernauts don't have them. But overall, every single ship has their own ship style. This also leads us into the second point, which is the frigate, a brand new ship that we have already talked about at length. It does insane amount of damage to larger ships. The larger the target, the more damage it will do to it, and it's completely based around space torpedoes. As soon as you unlock space torpedoes, you will in fact have access to this type of ship. It's slow, it's bulky, but it packs a punch, and it's quite good at slapping down any enemies that are on the field. Let's dive right in again. As I said, torpedoes, they have got a multiplier damage to their targets based on the size of the ship. So if you have one of these frigates, once again, if you shoot torpedoes at them at battleships, it will be bigger damage than, let's say, cruisers. But of course, if you go bigger than battleships, Titans, Juggernauts, you will do insane amounts of damage. Apparently, Praetorian missiles do the same. And Unbidden will do the same thing as well. And it's capped at 800%. So you can do 800% of the damage. And let's take a quick look at what that translates to. Yeah, 8 times 1. That's about, yeah, that's a good 1200 damage max with space torpedoes in this particular case. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to play around with this stuff, and it's going to be a really fun little experience. Torpedoes now have a maximum firing arc of 25 degrees at shorter maximum range. So what does this translate to? Basically, whenever you have a ship, you need to point the gun at the enemy at a radius of 25 degrees, or at least, you know, there's like a cone at the front of the ship. And basically, it will allow you to shoot torpedoes that way. This means that torpedo ships will need to do long rushes towards the enemy and cannot just circle like you would do with some of the other weapons. Similarly, that also applies to, say, the XL weapons for battleships. They also have these problems, but they also have different things attached to them, so that is something that we need to talk about in a little bit. Some sources of evasions have been replaced with other effects. They will most likely be talking about the new disengagement skill, where basically there's a higher chance of disengaging from the battle based on what is going on. And particularly, there are some items in terms of the, I want to say, the enigmatic items from the enigmatic fortress that applies to this. Smaller weapons of a category now have a slightly faster refire rate. That basically means faster pew-pew. Larger weapons will have a slower refire rate, which means slower pew-pew. A minimum range to all large weapons except for lasers and autocannons. I'm actually not entirely sure if that is true or not. Let's take a quick look here at the XL weapons. So the Tachyon Lance has a range of 0 to 150. Okay, so the large weapons, okay, so we've got 0 to 40 on the large autocannon here. By the way, the autocannons now also have a medium and a large version instead of just a small. But yeah, the spinal mounted weapons now have a minimum range in certain categories, specifically the focused arc emitter, which you need to have a minimum range of 10, and the Giga Cannon, which has been objectively one of the best ones in the game, has a minimum range of 45. This means if these damn frigates manage to get under the firing line, they will be toast, and they won't be able to do anything unless, of course, they've got, you know, those autocannons. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on here when it comes to all of these components. Ship combat computers can now ignore certain weapons for desired weapons purposes. So basically, if you have certain weapons applied to your ship that only have a certain range, the combat computer will take priority. So let's take a quick look at what that would actually look like. Let's say that we have a destroyer here, right? And we've got a combat computer for picket. Let's say that we have artillery. So in this particular case, the ship will try to stay at range as much as possible, which with these autocannons is not going to be viable, and neither is it going to be with this here plasma thrower. So basically what's going to happen here is that this ship is going to stay at range at all times and not even engaging into the combat until something decides to get close enough. Is this bugged? This feels bugged for some reason. Hold on. No, that's what the model looks like. Okay, that's different. Fair enough. Yeah, but that's essentially what's going on there. Same thing for artillery and carrier combat computers. They've got to maintain range behavior, so basically they will try to stay at range at all times. And of course, once again, this has knock-on effects for that range multiplier, but also the radius or the arc that they can shoot at. Strikecraft can no longer intercept missiles, but will continue to fight each other, reduced health and refresh rate of most strikecraft. So strikecraft are basically less good than that they were. Them being able to intercept missiles was a real boon in the past. They still get eaten alive by flak, which you kind of want to watch out for. Are they still good? I don't know. This is yeah, a little bit of a question. Strikecraft in general have felt a little bit weak for quite some time. Flak batteries now strongly counter strikecraft. Once again, point defense with being very focused on missiles. Very important to figure out what is going on there and what you can do against these enemies. A lot of this other stuff, of course, armor hardening and shield hardening modifiers, which basically reduces armor and shield penetration. New modules being added to the game. Let's take a quick look here. There they are. Living reactive armor, regenerative shields, advanced shield hardeners, that sort of stuff. So all this stuff has been added, and basically it improves the hardening of the shields, making sure that you can do more. Oh, nanite and the repair systems. A lot of cool little icons being added here. Living reactive armor. I have no idea where that comes from. We're going to need to take a look at where all this new stuff comes from. That is pretty cool. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here with a lot of small changes here and there to fix a lot of things, and I'm pretty excited about it. A couple of more interesting things is that missiles will now fit into an S weapon slot and have their damage modified accordingly. So swarmer missiles, they will go into the M, and the torpedoes will now go into the G slots. Which is where they were not before. So proton and neutron launchers usually before would go into the L slot, and that is no longer the case. So previously what you could do is you would be able to put protons in here. And look, the nanite autocannon. Very sexy, very nice. We'll do an analysis on whether or not that is actually any good or not. But yeah, there's a lot of other things here as well. The features, for instance, we talked about some of these already. Let's take a quick look at our Ascension perks. They are now completely changed. So now we have politics being added in. We will do a separate video about this in general, but basically this is completely based around the Galactic community and all the things that you can do there. A lot of really cool stuff here, actually. I'm really looking forward to do this because it gives the player, once again, a lot more soft power to play around with. But the real meat and potatoes here are the cybernetics, genetics, psionics, and synthetics overhaul for Ascension perks, effectively making Utopia even more interesting as a expansion, because you have all of these tradition trees to play around with cybernetics being completely new, well, kind of, sort of. as it previously would lead into synthetics, psionics, and genetics, of course, also being part of the gameplay now as well. So a lot of really cool stuff going on here. I'm actually really looking forward to this and see how this is going to pan out. The new Conclave Federation type is added to the federations. So we got new federations in the game which are completely focused on religion. I can give you a link in the description down below to have more details on that. Ascension Civics to Utopia. So basically, Ascensionist civics are actually really cool. Let's take a quick look here to Ascensionists. Actually, I don't know if I can do it with this Megacorp setup here, but let's say that I want to go to a diplomatic setup here. And let's see if I can find it, if it is actually here, Idealistic Foundation. It doesn't appear to be on the list here at the moment, but it doesn't matter within the grand scheme of things. Basically what it does is it reduces the cost of planetary ascensions. So we have this cool little button over here called the Upgraded Ascension tier, and basically with this particular civic, this becomes cheaper as well as easier to rack up on, which I think is really, really awesome and really, really cool. And yeah, there is also bonuses for that for the Federation that's attached to it, which is, once again, very, very cool. Epigenic Triggers has some changes now towards Servile. Allowed the removal of pre-sapient species traits. Interesting. Okay, I did not know that. New galaxy shapes, a lot of them elliptical, tiny galaxies, armed galaxies, starburst galaxies, all that stuff is in there. A new archaeological site and a new solar system with a debris belt. We'll take a look at that. A text-to-speech functionality, which is basically for longer text. The Cordyceps drones, we already talked about that in the previous video. It's Necroids for hive minds. At an event in the game start with Common Ground to let you pick your Federation type, which basically makes Common Ground amazingly powerful right now, especially if you can get one of the trade and science ones, as well as new event chains, and we need to take a look at that. Overall improvements, we are not really all that, that's overall is not all that interesting. All interesting stuff like Parasitic Overmind Government type. It's basically just because of the civics that are involved here and that sort of thing. Certain solar systems that are no longer able to spawn and that sort of stuff. So let's take a little bit of a look at the balance side of things. I'll zoom in for this one just to get the party going. Those are the bug fixes. We will get to those later. AI, we'll get to those later. Zero distillation, not really all that important. But yeah, occupied planets no longer produce or consume resources from buildings or pups. So you can cripple somebody's economy quite easily by taking down their planets. So no longer will those goods go into the generalized empire. Good times. Nanite autocannons, already talked about that. You can get them from killing the scavenger bot. Interesting. Again, we need to take a look at whether or not they're any good in the grand scheme of things. Aquatic is now 2 points in terms of cost instead of the 1, I believe, that it was before, because Aquatic was hilariously overpowered. Driven exterminators are now being able to assimilate other machines after taking synthetic traditions. You know, robots. Turning robots into themselves, I guess, makes sense. Robot Assembly Complex giving you 2 additional roboticist jobs, again with the new robotic assembly technology. The Logic Engines trade is now allowed on droids instead of just synthetics. That's nice. Logic Engines is for getting science bonuses on your robots, which is kind of nice. Tweaks Galactic market location formula to far more strongly favor trade value in its criteria. So previously, if you had the Galactic market vote going on, it usually would go to the one that either put in the most money or a variety of other things, and now it's just based on trade value. So you can still buy your way in getting access to the Galactic market. You just need to do it through, trade value and all that stuff. Federation experience at 2,000 above what is required for level 5. So all level 5 federations with AI are no longer one of the most fragile configurations known to man. Okay. Federation experience at 2,000 above what is required for level 5. Interesting. Oh, right, because they will lower. Okay, because of the Federation experience that you would need. Okay. If a species cannot live on a planet, it is now the first to be purged from it. Of course. This closes a clone army exploit related to the slowly purging of other species instead. Very nice. Artificers no longer produce... Are you serious? Artificers no longer produce science engineering research? That is... Is this a Master Crafters nerf? I think it is. Master Crafters Incorporated. Yes, they do no longer get you engineering research, and it's just consumer goods and trade value. Boah, okay. Phew. That is a soft nerf to Master Crafters. Master Crafters still good. Not as good as it used to be. That is unfortunate. I really like Master Crafters Incorporated, so yeah. Zero distillation to me more likely to appear if you have the Shroud Walker Teacher. Makes sense. Pearl Divers had their consumer goods output increased with a corresponding increase in food and mineral upkeep. Their trade value has been reduced. So Pearl Divers are for the aquatic, or it's for the anglers actually. So if you have farmers that are then replaced with Pearl Divers and Fishers, I believe, and they will produce consumer goods, and they will now do more of those, but they will no longer produce trade value. So get the Angler Civic if you want to have consumer goods then, I guess. Splinter Hive holdings now require at least 30 pops. Okay. On the subject planet to be constructed. Okay, Splinter Hive is a overlord building. So basically, if you are the overlord of another empire and you want to build a special Splinter Hive holding, that planet actually needs to have 30 pops now. Makes sense. The toxic entity now has an acidic gland dealing 1.25 hull damage per day to all ships in the same system. This is, I believe, the toxic god, and okay, they will do 1.25% hull damage per day to all ships in the same system. So basically it gets a aura effect that just does damage to the ship. Can we get that acidic gland as a module for our ships, please? That would be hella cool and hella powerful. I like that. That would be really nice. But I don't think we can have that because, this is why we cannot have nice things. A large number of tweaks to the ethic assignment weights, including in making certain weights based on the diplomacy of empires with particular ethos, have impact that is more dependent on the number of empires that you've engaged with if it does such diplomacy. Okay. I guess making friends is easier depending on how many other empires you've gotten of the same ethos. Very interesting. We can skip this. This is not really all that interesting. Certain technologies no longer cheaper than other technologies in the same tier. Okay. Okay. Food processing centers, mineral purification hubs, energy nexuses, alloy nanoplants, civilian replicators, the auto-curating vault, the Citadel of Faith, and a variety of other things have an increased cost and upkeep on Ringworlds in exchange, providing the benefits normally given by their related orbital ring building. Now, this is something we actually kind of need to dive into, because orbital rings have had a little bit of a boost. So buildings on orbital rings, previously you had a bunch of cool stuff here. They've added more. Orbital shield generator, orbital ring stock exchange, orbital embassy complex, orbital slave processing hub, and a variety of other cool things that I cannot even start to go into. Regardless, you cannot build, even if you would try, build an orbital ring around a ring world, right? It kind of makes sense. Like, rings around rings, you could try to do it, but I don't think it would work very well. All those buildings that we talk about here, specifically the food processing hubs, etc., the variety of these sort of things, they will get these additional bonuses onto the planet. So, consumer goods from artisans +1 on the orbital logistics systems, which would be the civilian replicator complexes on the orbital ring. That's crazy. The alloy nano processing center, again, more alloys for metallurgists. That's crazy good. Orbital stock exchange, get more merchant from consumer goods. Do we actually have anything like that? Corporate vault, probably. Yeah. Orbital embassy complex, which is a new one, gives you additional envoys. Does not really apply here. All I'm trying to tell you is that if you're building a ring world, you're going to be able to get some crazy bonuses with your empire. Ringworld colony designations, not really all that interesting. It basically just gives you additional pop growth. Ecumenopoli now give you plus 25% in assembly speed rather than 50% growth and no assembly. So you just make sure that if you're running an Ecumenopolis, you have robots, basically. A bunch of faction stuff has been adjusted. Imperialists and Supremacists will now actually like it if you kill a Leviathan forever instead of just 20 years, which was a huge pain in the ass and is now no longer the case. Culture workers have been nerfed and boosted in a variety of ways, so you can no longer exploit them till crazy amounts, and a variety of other minor things. Increase the time that it takes first contact to civilization by about 30%. Okay, so first contact just simply takes longer. Unique first contact event chains. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Now allowed for the galaxy to contain multiple Void Dweller empires. So previously you could only have one Void Dweller empire per galaxy. Now you can have multiples. So get ready to have an entire universe filled with people who do not live on planets. Remove defensive platform costs and upkeep reductions from bulwarks. They now gain inherent shield and armor hardening as they leveled up. That makes perfect sense. Even though I did like the upkeep reductions for platforms and stuff like that. Strategic resources, planetary automation will no longer fill fortress designation planets with refinery instead of strongholds. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing. The Cybrex and Sentinel factions. The Sentinels, they've been mentioned for the first time in 5 years. Amazing. The Cybrex and the Sentinel factions will now scale for a limited amount of degree based on the setting of the endgame crisis. The more higher their difficulty, I guess, the bigger they are. The Sentinels and the Cybrex, that is. Sentinels are garbage. They won't be able to do anything. I'm actually surprised they touched them. They haven't been touched in so long. Can we please get their original ships back, please? That'd be very nice. Martial law, hunter-killer drones, compliance and drones modifier now provide penalties to both mechanical and makes perfect sense. Like previously, you wouldn't procreation would be slowed down. Obviously, that's no longer the case. But you could still build robots really quickly, and that's now been nerfed. Zero distillation technology no longer explicitly requires psionic theory. Oh, but it's extremely rare without it. That is so useful, though. I cannot say how many times I've had situations where I got Zro sitting around in space and I cannot do anything with it. Buffed the Demonic Incursion by giving them additional naval capacity. Reduce ship... Wait, what? Demonic Incursion. Giving them additional naval capacity. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Demonic Incursion. I know this is part of the portal to hell. Demon. Let's take a look here. Do I have colony? Demonic army. Okay. Demon. Okay, what do we got? Knight Doomslayer. Okay, let's try this out, shall we? If we can actually trigger it. That would be really nice if we can do so. So let's try this out here. Events. The Dark Knights. Knights who we send... Okay, the several demonic armies will attack the colony.
Planetary invasion.
Oh, okay, sure. Deformed creatures, the mutant horde. Alright. Okay, I can see where this is going. What else do we have here? More demonic stuff. Do they have fleets? Do they have an empire? Demonic incursion species. Corrupted Knight becomes their leader. Okay. Fleet capacity. I like where this is. Demonic refugees? What on earth is going on here? I'm going to need to do a video on this. Yeah, this goes straight into the category of rip and tear, so to speak. Let's see what we can do here. Are you guys going to take over?
Planetary invasion alert.
Oh
Surface
my
control has
lord.
been compromised.
Is... Oh, excuse me? Excuse me? Oh, okay then. I have demonic incursion. I have several questions. Giving them additional naval cap and more fleets. Yeah, you definitely have given them more fleets. That's 150,000 fleet power you've added to these quote-unquote fleets. I am lost for words. Yeah, we're gonna need to do a proper video on this particular topic here. Alright, cool. Updated Merc and Salvager station designations to, yeah, basically weapons because of the weapon bonuses. Extra dimensional anchors and portals now have shield hardening aura for allies in that system. That sucks. I hate that. Larger extra dimensional ships and structures now have point defense solutions. Okay, no more being able to strike down extra dimensionals unbidden, basically, with nothing but attack ships. Special endgame faction, crisis factions such as Baron, Cybrex, and Sentinel show up a little bit earlier on the large scale. I would hope so, because I don't think I've seen the Cybrex and Sentinels in forever. Aberrant all the time, but the other two, basically never. Ascension paths, a whole bunch of crap that we already talked about. A bunch of bonuses to the Origins, so Mechanists now provide a 50% robot pop assembly speed instead of robot upkeep. So basically, crank out robot faster, plus you get robot traits. Starting robots will have the bulky and high maintenance trait, as well as the matching trait for whatever worker job they hold. Okay, so you get a lot of really good robots right at the start. They also have robo-modding as a guaranteed. That's really good. That's a solid boost to Mechanists. I do like that. Shattered Ring. Okay. This is once again a big one. The number of segments that are colonizable at the game start now depends on the guaranteed habitable world setting. The segments have a large amount of blockers, include some of that require advanced technologies to clear, but impact the habitability of the segment. Shattered Ring world segments are no longer ideal worlds, but have a base of 100% habitability. Repairing Shattered World segments now qualifies for the Galactic World Wonders Ascension Perk. The cost and time to restore the Shattered Ring world segment has been reduced to 25%. So, what does this mean? It means that if you set at the start of the game that you have got guaranteed worlds nearby, you will be guaranteed to have parts of the Broken Ring world to be part of your empire, or at least at the start, basically. They'll have a bunch of blockers on it, you can colonize them, but you don't have to wait till you've got mega engineering to fix them and then be able to do something about it. Gives you a bit more of a challenge, I would say, but it sounds like a lot of fun. AI, we're gonna go skip the AI. Stability, fix out of sync, fix the crash, eliminate possible out of sync issues with diplomatic stuff. A ton of performance issues. The UI, adding terraforming candidates to the galaxy map and system view. That is really nice. Oh, really? 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 Okay, let's take a look here. Is Mars a... Okay, terraforming candidate. Is it on... Okay. Excuse me. Debug, tooltip... Okay, who are we here? ID 65, so let's tag into here. Oh yeah, look at that. Potentially habitable. That is really cool. Okay. So there is a potential... It's a bit cluttered. Don't get me wrong. Still pretty cool. Who's my leader? Lady Purifier, Daughter of Fury. Divine Sovereign, Scavenger, Fanatic Purifier. Demonic... They've got their own origin. Lead by a corrupted champion, this empire emerged from a dimensional portal and has vowed to lace waste to its reality. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's amazing. Oh, that's so good. The fact they're from Holy Mars just makes it even better. You know, the Void Dragon finally popped out and... starting to ruin shit. That's hilarious. Caravaneers now tell you when they'll be allowed to open up another reliquary and a tooltip. Also very useful. Added more helpful tooltips to the interdimensional trade modifiers. Yeah, I would hope so, because right now it doesn't really tell you anything. A lot of UI stuff. Tons of bug fixes. The Holy Guardians will no longer mind if you turn their holy worlds into other planet types. As long as you have the head of Zarklon, his world will be done. Indeed. Relic World... Relic World now has a dense ruins around a former relic. Okay, that's fine. A lot of tiny stuff here. Feel free to go through all of this. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things going on here. What's this? Galcom resolution. Okay. Unlocking sanctions. A lot of modding stuff going on here. So if you're a modder, I'm sure that all this stuff is really cool for you. Regardless, though, yeah, this patch, the 3.6 Orion patch, is most likely going to drop on the 29th of this month. There's a lot of really cool stuff heading into our general direction. This is a massive set of patch notes that I'm really looking forward to, and I think is one of the bigger ones that we've done since LEM. Also, what the actual fuck? That is genuinely ridiculous, and I love everything about it. The Demonic Incursion. I cannot believe they've got their own origin. Naval capacity plus 100%. Amazing. Scavenger. Fanatic Purifiers. Oh, I want to play with these guys. Did they get their own civics as well? Let's take a look. It doesn't look like they get their own civics, but still, you know, a man can dream. So what do you think of this particular patch notes setup, the Death Diaries and everything around it? What do you think of the beta? Have you had a lot of fun? I definitely had, and I think this is probably one of the better experiments they've done ever since they did the Custodian setup. So yeah, I'm really curious on what you think, and especially on these patch notes. But we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to go and play some demons, because, you know, demons. Look at all that heresy. That's amazing. See you next time.